Hey, hello dear viewers, time for the English news edition at RTD channel. The top stories. The head of state has presided over this morning the Artists' National Day. And the International Union is considering a resolution rejecting Trump's decision on Jerusalem. The head of state, His Excellency Ismail Margeli, presided today at the People's Palace, the National Day of the Artists. Upon his arrival, the President, accompanied by the First Lady, Qadra Mohammed Haid, has been welcomed by the Prime Minister, Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, and the Minister of Culture. President of the Republic has in the first place visited the different exhibition stands for the sale of art showcased by Djiboutian painters, as well as Book and National Archives Fair. This year's writers and painters were in honor The ceremony, rich in colors and emotions, will continue during 3 days, where many artistic and cultural activities will be presented to the public. This day that was established by presidential decree allowing our rich heritage to be maintained and valorized. It constitutes an official recognition of the Djiboutian state of artists and makes a vibrant tribute to their contribution to the cultural development of the country, where at the ceremony all the members of the government, parliamentary and diplomatic body accredited to Djibouti, representative of international organizations, high executives of country and a good number of Djiboutian artists.
ناقطعكوها باللونو يتني اتكبتو قال لك كله فين ارحو ابتهتني كل سينبا ناقطعكوها باللونو كبتو ينبا قبلتني قال لك كله فين ارحو ابتهتني كل سينبا نكمي علمي السما علمي نكمي علمي السما.
After the verses of the Holy Quran and the national anthem, the celebrations of the National Artists' Day was marked with all different types of songs, particularly songs that were sung by the most well-known singers of the country, followed by diverse types of dances, especially modern dances, well executed by young artists. Here are some images.
القرآن خلق الإنسان علم
For his opening remarks, the Minister of Culture, Moumin Hassan Barre, has talked about the importance of this day to the Djiboutians. Let's listen to him.
La commémoration de la présente journée nationale de l'artiste intervient à un moment où notre pays célébrait son 40e anniversaire de l'indépendance.
The commemoration of this National Artist Day comes at a time that our country is celebrating its 40th anniversary of independence, which symbolizes retrospective of achievements and a projection in a near future. To this end, allow me to reaffirm, Mr. President, your commitment to make the cultural sector a priority in the national development, emphasizing that everything you have done to promote the culture is exceptional and will remain in the history of this country. The academic trainings of our young artists will now be transferred to Djibouti Institute of Arts, called IDA, which will become a pole of excellent culture. In this perspective, IDA will set up new innovational classes in digital spaces. In this purpose, I would like to expose the importance and the growing need we have to empower our artists so that they better expose our country's culture. In this context, the creation rights of our artists will be protected by making sure optimized partnership with the operators. The Djibouti Copyright Office ODDA ensures to provide artists a remuneration in return for the use of their work. Our main mission is to ensure the proper exploitation of those assets. As far as perspectives are concerned, the Culture Act action gives a configuration of 2018 cultural agenda, which is focused on preparing the consultation leading up to the elaboration of the national cultural policy and the revitalization of culture by organizing cultural and festivals events.
As for the President of the Republic has commanded the beautiful display of art in our cultural heritage at the ceremony, here is the speech of the President.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
I address here today in a solemn manner to pay tribute to the artist. What we have seen and appreciated here at the People's Palace is only a tiny part of the multiple diversity that encompasses the art in general. It is a habit for us to consider as an artist the singer, composer, and lyricist. We often tend to forget that the thinkers, designers, painters, the men of theaters are artists overall. Note also that it is inconceivable for some of us to buy a work of art representing a particular vision of daily life to $450 million. The artist is no longer mistreated as you were yesterday. The artist in our daily life is valued, supported, and depend on a fully fledged institution created for him and named the Djiboutian Institute of Art, also known as IDA. A lot of artists present here are casual artists who makes art their hobbies, not a business. Academics, for example. This state of fact is very encouraging. Many artists present here comes from the Djiboutian Art Institute. We must encourage them. The artists, we must support them and appreciate them to their own value. There were a moment on this stage where the famous singer Hassan Adan Samatra has complained for a true recognition of the artist, who through his emotion lived his words, tell life, but also its ups and downs, its obstacle and benefit. On the other hand, one must respect the right of authors by buying their literary work. In other words, to reward them for their tireless effort and their talent. On behalf of those present here today, I seize this opportunity in these 40 anniversaries to pay tribute to the artists, those who passed away, those who through their work struggle against colonialism.
The ceremony of the celebration of the National Day of the Artists at the People's Palace was closed by a series of decorations called Palm of Culture. And it is first of all President of the Republic who decorated the artists, songwriters such as Qorriere, Qarshile, Roda Dahir, Ausi, Amina Farah of the troupe Gan Ma'an, Aisha Bisley, Gelo, Muhammad Sahala from the group March 4, and Fatima Mansour, Abayazid Dahabdi, without forgetting Nahari of the Qaisali group. As for the Prime Minister, he decorated the solo artists. In a press statement made at the end of the ceremony, the Minister of Muslim Affairs and Culture, Mumin Hassan Barre, took over the role of the artist in the society. He said that the artist is the sensitive nerve of the society. He presents futuristic visions. He criticizes and characterizes reality to awaken a population hypnotized by the rhythm of life. He said, Mumin Hassan Barre said that any people whose culture is alive must have and still need artists who propagate and prolong their noble inspirations, their artists and spokespersons, and the historical memory of each people and nation, hammered the minister. It is in the sense that the head of state has kept the promise that artists will be covered by the universal health insurance card and will benefit from the insurance as any employee. The Minister of Culture has stated that artists' copyrights will be reviewed and that at the end of the year artists will receive their copyrights. Continuing with the national news, the Minister of Communication in charge of Posts and Telecommunications, Abdi Yusuf Suge, at the head of a delegation promise, MP for the region Muhammad Ali Fulliye, Deputy General Manager of Djibouti Telecom Qasim Mahmoud Wais, a number of engineers and senior executives of the national telecommunications operator went to the village of Gweto in the Ali Sibih region this morning. This trip is the result of an invitation from the inhabitants of this village following the opening on Tuesday evening of the rural telephone network. After Friday's collective prayer, a grand luncheon was offered in his honor on the heights of the mountain Golle, located 200 meters from Gubeto. It was around the banquet tables that the Minister Abdi Yusuf had consultations with the various socials of the village. In his intervention, the minister was delighted by the warm welcome by the people of Gubet had reserved for him, and the delegation accompanying him, Abdi Yusuf Suge, said that the grievances of the population in terms of water was a success. In terms of telecommunication, we responded to your call, concluded the minister. The Director of Civil Protection, in collaboration with the French firefighters, the National Police and the security cell of the hotel, organized this morning a fire simulation exercise in Djibouti Palace, Kempiski. Above all, this exercise involves simulating a fire that occurred in a room on the third floor of the hotel. Civil Protection mobilized a large number of personnel, including doctors, officers, to coordinate the exercise, as well as several fire trucks, 2 ambulances, and a mechanical ladder truck to evacuate people to the outside safely. This fire simulation exercise aims to evaluate the reflexes of the intervention elements and rescuers, so it aims to improve the response capacity of stakeholders. Interior Minister Hassan Amr Mohamed, French Ambassador to Djibouti, Christophe Guillou, the Director of Civil Protection, Colonel Mahmoud Moussa, and the Director of the hotel attended the fire simulation operations. The Minister of the Interior discussed with Colonel Abayazid the rescue plans and the different phases of the development of simulation operations. And after the exercises, the French ambassador to Djibouti and the director of the hotel praised the efficiency and the speed of the interventions of the civil protection, thus the strong cooperation which exists between Djibouti and French civil protection. And to close up this edition with on the Jerusalem file, the United Nations Security Council is considering voting on a draft resolution earlier next week that will consider any changes to the status of Jerusalem legally invalid and call on any such changes to be reversed, according to Saturday's media reports. While not naming the U.S. specifically, the Egyptian drafted text is a significant repudiation from the international community of U.S. President Donald Trump's decision earlier this month to recognize the Holy City as the capital of Israel and move the U.S. embassy there from Tel Aviv. The draft resolution states that any decisions and actions which purport to have altered the character, status or demographic composition of the Holy City of Jerusalem have no legal effect, are null and void, and must be rescinded in compliance with relevant resolutions of the Security Council. The draft also demands that states refrain from establishing diplomatic missions in Jerusalem in accordance with the prior Security Council resolutions that declare any changes in the status of Jerusalem as a city divided between Israel and Palestinians to be violations of international law. The one-page draft was circulated to the 15 members of the Security Council on Saturday. They are expected to vote on the resolution this coming week, perhaps as early as Monday. And that's all for tonight's news. Thank you for joining us on RTD channel. Have a good night.